boys and girls, sports fans around the world, football fans. In the Huddle is back, baby. Episode 86. The wild card weekend just wrapped up, and the boys are wild, getting wild to talk about these games. Let's get right into it. I am Kenny C. Alongside me, per usual, is the crew, the real Lil, Cam Jones, Coach Mello, and Zach Kroll. Fellas, what is up?
Man, what a weekend, bro. What a weekend. I think this was one of the most unproductive weekends I ever had in my life. I just sat down on a couch Saturday night watching Taylor Heineke versus the Buccaneers. I literally broke my pinky toe, and I had to get some West Indian remedies to fix that so I could be here today because ain't nobody going to the hospital in COVID time. I'm sorry. Now, I am not. People going to the hospital, with getting shot and they calling it COVID. I'm going to do some West Indian, back to my roots remedies to get me ready. So it was going to take more than a broken toe for me to miss the game with my foes. Let's get it.
Gentlemen, just want to say happy morning to you guys. This past weekend was wild, man. From 1 o'clock all the way to 8 o'clock. I was pretty damn impressed, man. I can't wait to talk some football with you guys tonight. Let's get it.
Yeah, boys, what's going on? Hope everyone's doing well. It was a crazy weekend. I feel like we got everything. This was the first time ever we had the 6 playoff games. We even got a game on Nickelodeon. It was a lot of fun, and I'm really looking forward to talking about it with you guys today.
And that that game was something else, man. That Nickelodeon.
I think the Bears were appropriate. I think the Bears belonged, but they might have scared the kids off by that performance.
And Mitch getting selected to be slimed is just classic. But let's get right into this, fellas. First topic here.
On the bench there long after everybody else had left the field, can you share with us what was going through your mind there and maybe what you guys were talking about?
I love that guy. He is one of the best competitors and teammates I've ever had. And it has been so much fun to share a football field with him. And I hate that it ended the way it did. And I just wanted to apologize to him that I wanted to win it for him.
Jerry Dulac.
Ben, I was just going to ask you, when you get behind like that and it starts the way it does with the bad snap from Marquise, how do you come back from that? What do you say to the guys? What do you try to do?
That half was one of the weirdest halves I've ever been a part of.
Who is to blame for the Steelers losing to the Browns 48-37 last night? Mike Tomlin or Big Ben? Now, I know I talked to Zach last night. As soon as the Browns were blowing out the Steelers, everybody was shocked because who the hell predicted that? But we were talking, and at the time, Zach was blaming everything on Tomlin. And I said, I disagree because his reasoning was, they didn't look ready. They weren't prepared. But I just was shocked because the start, who expects the snap over Big Ben's head? And then it just spiraled from there. But all in all, I thought about this literally all day. If we're going to pick out of these two, Big Ben or Mike Tomlin, Big Ben pretty much brought them back in the second half, and 2 out of the 4 picks were not on him.
Don't flip, Kenny C. Don't flip, brother. Keep it. Keep it. Don't flip. Don't flip.
Like I'm saying, I thought about it all day, bro, all day. I can't place all the blame on Big Ben. I can't. Because when you have a 4th and 1, and it's at the 50, 12-point game, you have to go for it in that situation. That play right there is what changed my mind about Mike Tomlin in this game. That and the fact that Mike Tomlin could not stop Nick Chubb or Hunt the entire game. He's pulling the plays on defense. He did not dial up anything to slow either of them down and let them run away with the game, literally run away with the game. Big Ben brought them back. Yeah, you can say, all right, 501 yards was a bit stat padded, but at the same time, he brought them within 12, and Tomlin screwed it up.
Yeah, I agree 100%, Kenny C. I look at Ben Roethlisberger, and I agree 100%. His numbers were inflated last night. I know he technically did throw for 500 yards, but we all know all those yards mostly came by the time the game was over. But I will say this, man. I've said many times on this show that I've never been a Mike Tomlin fan. I think he's a good coach, but I think he's an overrated coach. And last night, it didn't really surprise me. If you've been watching the Steelers all year, you know that their offensive play calling sucks. Their short yard execution sucks, and both cost them last night. And it's unfortunate because this team was looking at an 11-0 record, and now they're going into this offseason with just a number of big questions. And when you look at Mike Tomlin and you look at the coaching in the playoffs, I agree when Kenny C mentioned about the punt. 4th and 1, you're down by 12 points. The Cleveland Browns have a history of blowing fourth quarter leads in the playoffs in Pittsburgh, which wouldn't have surprised anyone if the Steelers would have came back and won that game. But at the same time, his defense got hosed. That 3rd down in when Jarvis beat Spillane, like that's a zone matchup on a linebacker in coverage. If you watch the Steelers, a matchup like that beats them every single game on a big 3rd down. And this was just another game where Mike Tomlin Steelers did not come ready to play. I consider the last 10 years of Steeler football to be an absolute failure. I know people will say that Mike Tomlin has never had a losing record, so that makes him a great coach. I think it makes him a good coach. His teams don't suck. But at the same time, the Steelers have had a franchise quarterback the last 10 years. They've had plenty of weapons around him. And Mike Tomlin is supposed to be a defensive guy. His defenses have given up 90 points at home in their last 2 playoff games. If I'm a Steeler fan, I need to see better. And, both were responsible, but I agree Tomlin 100% should be more.
Yeah, both wrong. Look, we're going to have to go to the Supreme Court, the in the huddle Supreme Court here, because I don't like the tampering. I don't like the fact that because Kenny C thought one way, then Zach was tampering with Kenny C last night, and they came up as a tag team and tried to win this debate. I don't like the tampering right there.
I promise you, I'm working screwing up plywood, thinking about
this is more than one time that happened. More than one time that happened on this show. This happened with the Rams and the Seattle and the Cardinals debate that we had. This is more than one. So I'm watching y'all. I got my eyes on both of y'all, brothers.
Let me tell you this, though. At the same time, though, I don't know if you could blame him because, I mean, you or Cam said it to start the show. You said that Dolphins point, he was thinking about it, so I can't blame you guys.
I'm about to give you my take, my brother. Listen, y'all absolutely wrong, and I'm going to tell you why. Look, first of all, I want to say this, man. Big Ben, the play of the game was the start of the game, which was that missed snap. When Big Ben had the opportunity to fall on that, he had the opportunity to fall on that. And that gave the Browns all the momentum. That's like in boxing, what you would call, all right, you hit a guy with a right hook, and now he's stumbling. Now you smell the knockout, and you go for the knockout. And that's exactly what Cleveland done. Had Big Ben falling that football, we could be looking at a totally different game going down the line because we all know what happened with the Cleveland Browns. Now, granted, I am not exempting Mike Tomlin from all the blame here. I actually think it's 60-40% Ben to Tomlin because, like I said, I didn't like the fact that Mike Tomlin rested his starters before this weekend, before the game, because if you don't have a rhythm and continuity, what are you resting for? Right? And y'all was on the other side of that branch. But look, Big Ben threw 4 interceptions. I know Kenny C said 2 of them was tipped, but 1 of them was right to the daggone Browns defender. They went right to the end zone. Big Ben looked like a rookie out there. He didn't look good at all. He missed an open Chase Claypool down the sideline. And look, I got some stats for you, my brother. Big Ben ranked 21st in the league in adjusted net yards per attempt, 22 in total QBR, and 25th in PFF passing grades. Another thing, too, to keep in mind here, Big Ben average time to throw the ball all year is 2.3 seconds. So it's clear that he is not the same player as he once was because we've known him to be elusive in that pocket, and when trouble breaks down, he's so big to bring down. So, look, he has clearly fallen off the cliff, and it showed yesterday. One more thing I would say is that Big Ben never looked inspired this year to start with. I had never seen Big Ben look like he loved the game of football anymore. When I look at Drew Brees, I could tell he still loved the game. When I look at Tom Brady, I could still tell he loved the game, and it shows even after the game. Big Ben never one time, even when they was undefeated, that I said Big Ben, he's gonna be playing for a couple more years because he feels inspired. And now you sitting there crying on the bench, brother.
Bro, when you're hobbling around on one knee, you're not gonna be very inspired.
Then why are you out there? If you're hobbled, then maybe he just doesn't give them the best chance to win. And
well, Ben himself did say, if I don't feel I could put it all out here,
saying and doing is 2 different things, Can you see? And we all know that as a man.
Cam?
Guys, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to fully put the blame on Mike Tomlin solely because, in my opinion, I believe he shouldn't rest his starters in Week 17. Prior to that, these guys only won 1 game out of their last 4. You feel me? You know, they lost to the football team. They lost to the team in upstate New York and the Buffalo Bills. They lost to the, garbage, Cincinnati Bengals. And they barely won against the Indianapolis Colts. So I believe right now, he shouldn't have rest his starters. There should have been more accountability, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Too many times the receivers are dropping balls, easy balls. You get what I mean? And, I remember a few weeks ago, he said that, I say, if these guys don't want to catch the ball, he's going to start benching guys. But it looks like, he still have the same person out there each and every week. So, right there in yesterday's loss, I fully blame Mike Tomlin. The team wasn't ready to play, especially in that first play of the game with the high snap. And, pretty much how, Cleveland scored 28 in the first quarter. I was like, oh, yeah, it's over with. So, at the end of the day, I solely put the blame on Tomlin. Sorry to say it.
I just don't like the fact that when Cam Newton did the same thing in the Super Bowl against the Denver Broncos, when he didn't fall in that fumble, we got on Cam Newton. Oh, he doesn't love the game of football. That is so ridiculously unfair to me. And that got me tight because Big Ben did that same thing. I don't care if you're hurt. If you love the game, pull it all out there on the football field and fall on that daggone football because momentum is the game. The game of sports is momentum. Sometimes all it takes for that opening, that one shot, to be like, all right, be back in the game. And one thing about Cleveland, I'm going to let y'all fellas get in here. One thing about Cleveland that I know from Cleveland is that they showed against the Titans. Once they punch you in the mouth, the game is over. You can't come back from that. And the Browns had that punch you in your mouth type of power because they know how to run the football. So if they get a lead, they can continue to run the clock out. So
I got to be honest with you. When the Steelers were down 12 and punted, I thought they did have a chance to beat the Browns. You could say, oh, once they punch you in the mouth, you can't beat them. I think the Steelers could have done that last night, and that's where I think Mike Tomlin cost the Steelers the game.
This is why I'm putting a lot of the blame on Tomlin because of him. He's calling the defense, and right after the Ben interception, he lets whatever scheme they dialed up, Jarvis literally jogged into the end zone untouched practically, and then Big Ben, not his fault, the pass is tipped, and then on the drive right after, Chubb walks in like it's nothing, or I think it was Hunt. So throughout the entire game, throughout that entire blowout, Big Ben had a couple picks that were not his fault, and on both of those drives, they capitalized with a scoring drive. There was no answer on defense at all whatsoever. If you're supposed to be the physical Pittsburgh Steelers that you're known to be, that was all wiped out of the window. None of that was present.
Yeah, one thing I'll also say is that Will mentioned it himself, right? Momentum is so key in these games. It's so big. And to start off the second half, the Steelers get out to a 13-0 run to start off the third quarter. So they cut it to 12 to open the fourth quarter. And I think that the Steelers going into that fourth quarter had all the momentum. And one thing I really believe in the playoffs is like when you're in between the 40s and it's fourth and less than 5, you got to go for it. You got to play like you have to win the game. And I think that Pittsburgh up to that point had all the momentum. I think if Pittsburgh goes for that 4th and 1 and gets it, It's not
guaranteed they would have got it.
And without Big Ben, they're not coming with it.
And maybe they win.
It's not guaranteed they would have got it, though.
12 in that situation.
It's not. Look. I didn't agree with the call either. I'll give that to you. But like I said, I'm not just going to put it on that call. Big Ben is a daggone veteran. I don't care if who's your coach at that point. If you won Super Bowls and you've been there before, you should be able to make certain plays despite anything, you know? And I think Big Ben didn't show that veteran spirit yesterday.
Shouldn't you have your team ready to play?
Like I said, it's a combination of both, but let's not exempt Big Ben, who looked like straight garbage, holding the team back. Because that's exactly what he did. He doesn't look inspired.
I get it.
He was talking about retirement for the last 2 years.
I get it.
He was talking about retirement for the last 2 years. He never looked inspired. He was holding that team back. That's why they was, the short passing offense with no running game because they couldn't throw the ball down the field.
Another thing, too, the amount of drop balls, his receivers can't catch balls the entire year. This wasn't just a one-game thing where Ebron's dropping balls. This is all season with their receivers. How the hell are you supposed to move the football effectively if they can't even catch it?
Bro, he clearly the stats show he's not the same quarterback, and clearly from the eye test,
he's 38.
He's not the same quarterback.
I didn't expect this to be the Big Ben of
bro. Like I said last night, y'all not gonna convince me. I'm sorry. The blame for me is put on Big Ben. He's garbage. They need to move on from that brother.
That's the problem.
And that's what I gotta say.
Big Ben
That's
did not
all I
play
gotta
well
say.
last night. I don't think anyone's going to deny that. But at the same time, I just think that Mike Tomlin once again did not have his team ready to play, and it's not like this is a one-time thing. This happened a couple weeks ago against the Bengals. This happened against Buffalo.
But
Like,
when you
this
look at
happened
Tom Brady on the
they don't
Buccaneers,
all know
there was a
plays.
couple of times where Aaron didn't have his team ready to play, and Tom Brady made sure they was ready to play. So if that must mean that Big Ben is not on
Okay,
Tom
no
Brady's
one
level.
said Big Ben is better than Tom
I'm
Brady.
just saying.
We get it.
I'm
We
just
get
saying.
it.
bro.
Tom Brady's
I'm
great.
just saying.
He's playing well. Like,
All right.
Brady's clearly built different.
Yeah,
The
like, no
longevity
one's
I'm glad you
is
admitted that,
instilled into
Kenny C.
man.
I'm glad you found it in your heart with all that Brady hate to admit that. Thank you very much.
I'll admit that any day. I mean, the fact that the guy's 43.
You admitted today, like I said.
Most dads
Use
are
a
cracking
point.
beers. Most dads are cracking beers and watching football on Sunday, not going out there and slinging the ball 25 yards downfield.
Big
But
Ben just need to
nonetheless,
retire. Big Ben just need to retire. I'm sorry. He need to go.
nonetheless, Lil wants to see Ben gone. And for the sake of time, we're going to move on here.
Pay it back.